All right, so we're going to do something special for Thanksgiving. I'm only going to do one interview this week. It's going to be with Dr. Dave Nichols. He's a chiropractor in Belmont. I'm very happy to have you on the podcast. My dad recommended you. You're a huge movie fan. I really trust what my dad says, so what he says is usually gospel. Tell me what really got you into movies in the first place.
First of all, I want to thank your dad, and my bribery dollar has gone to good purposes, so that's good.
Good.
Oh, entertainment, escapism is something that has been ingrained upon me, and literature, art, music, movies, for me is something that you can now audiobooks.
Yeah.
I just listened to The Count of Monte Cristo, my favorite book of all time, on audiobook with Sir David Clarke, the best narrator I could ever imagine. And he paints a picture somewhere between reading it, where everything is your own picture, and a movie, which is here's my view of it.
Right.
Somewhere between, and then it was marvelous. So I'm an escapist.
Yeah.
And I love it. I admit it.
And that's the thing about movies. You lose yourself for 2 hours or however long it is.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the questions that we had in the earlier podcast.
Okay.
And then we may get into other questions, but we'll see how this goes. So the very first question I asked everyone, what was the very first movie you remember seeing in a theater?
This one I do remember the questions. Some of the questions were a little bit more difficult looking back on,
Sure.
or at least trying to extrapolate. So my dad and my mom took our family, 7 of us, to see, from San Carlos up to San Francisco, to see Mary Poppins.
Oh, nice.
I'm thinking circa 1962 or something like that. And it was a fantastic experience. In fact, I think the next weekend we said, let's go do it again.
Yeah.
We went back and saw it again. So that was a great experience to go, not to... Can we tangent a little bit here?
Absolutely.
One of the problems with young people, Brian,
Yeah,
like people.
I think I know where you're going with this. Yes.
It has so much saturation that nothing is special. My dad took my sisters and my 2 cousins to see the Beatles in 1964. No one's ever seen the Beatles.
Yeah.
And so...
At the Candlestick?
At Cow Palace.
Oh, Cow Palace, okay.
And so it might have been 65. So that is something that... kids nowadays go, oh, I guess that was kind of cool. No, it was the biggest thing. Seeing the president wasn't that big.
Yeah.
So the saturation of so much entertainment and so many choices has kind of dulled some experience. And so for me as a kid, going to see Mary Poppins was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It was the greatest thing. It was a magical movie too.
Absolutely.
It wasn't like we went and saw something dark.
Well, movies today, if it's really good, like the last Star Wars, might be out for 2 months. Back in the day, it would be out for at least a year, if not longer. They keep re-releasing it. They just don't do that anymore.
I forget the year. You must know. I'm guessing 79, but Star Wars came out
77.
77,
Yeah.
and we stood in line at the and we're not talking 1937, so it wasn't that ancient.
No.
I mean, I think we had the Walkman back then, right? For God's sake. But so we stood in line at the Old Mill Theater in Mountain View, and the whole line was around the block. It wasn't the original Blockbuster. That was Jaws, as you know, from the Spielberg. However, and we stood in line drinking champagne. It was such a big event to go see Star Wars. So yes, absolutely. Those things were special, and we remember them.
So when you saw Star Wars, did you think immediately it was going to be this iconic thing that's going to last generations and generations?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, it was that unique and that different. At least the first one I saw, whatever episode that was.
Yeah.
The next ones were kind of like, but the way it introed with a long time ago and coming over your head with the sound in a galaxy far, far away was just an unusual experience.
Yeah.
And so I did think it was going to be something pretty special, although I haven't taken it to the new realms with all the new prequels and things, so I don't know that much about those. The first 3 were something that I saw, and it was pretty special.
Going back to Mary Poppins, it's interesting because Disney was especially guilty of this, where they would just re-release films. Like they'd hold it back.
Fantasia, all those.
Absolutely. So I remember seeing them for the first time, not on video, but at the movie theater. My mom would take me down to the Hillsdale Theater in San Mateo.
Love that theater.
Yeah, and I would saw Peter Pan and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and that was great because it wasn't going to come out in home movie. You had to see it in the theater. You had to experience it, and we'd see it over and over again.
Fantastic. Speaking of snow, see, this is talking about sidebar of a sidebar of a sidebar. I'll try my best to bring it back.
No, this is what it's about.
Snow White, I was watching the History Channel last month. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a true story from the Brothers Grimm.
Yeah.
It was based, they kind of talked, because that was pretty grim, pun intended, in those days in Germany. And so it was a true story of a beautiful little princess whose father was a king, who was, with the new mother, the evil stepmother, was absolutely jealous. And the father got this woman. This is how the show started on the History Channel. The special mirror from Belgium or somewhere that said it's the finest glass and it will always tell you the truth. The mirror on the wall. And every time she looked in it, it was beautiful. She kept being reminded of this beautiful little girl that everyone loved. And there was a poison apple, exiled her. And then as the story, and as she was going through the forest, she actually came across these malnourished miners, 7 of them who were dwarfs, the 7 dwarfs, interesting how much, and we're not going to segue too much, but how much of history, Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey, how much of these stories are history and mythology? There's a blending there.
Absolutely.
And so that fascinates me about literature and about art.
And Disney especially would make it his own, like he did with Mary Poppins. And I'm sure you saw Saving Mr. Banks and the difficulty he had trying to get that. And I don't know which story is, his side or her side goes better, but I'm sure there's something in between there.
Well, speaking of that, I love to see the making behind the making. Francis Coppola's wife made Hearts of Darkness, Academy Award-winning film about the filming of Apocalypse Now.
Right.
And you're a Hitchcock buff, so you saw Hitchcock with Anthony Hopkins, which was the filming of Psycho, and that whole process of that.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another sidebar, which is the money people in Hollywood are such pieces of dumb crap. When they're trying to tell Steven Spielberg what to do during Jaws, almost fired him.
Yeah.
They're trying to tell Francis Coppola to fire Al Pacino because he wasn't who they wanted. He's like, these money people.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why Orson Welles didn't last as long as he did. I mean, he just didn't take kindly to what movie execs were saying. He had his Citizen Kane, but after that, it was not downhill, but he never had the same sort of backing. Yeah, and he also went after William Randolph Hearst, which he didn't do at the time. So,
well, you probably still don't.
Yeah. So definitely Mary Poppins was one of the earlier films you remember.
Yeah, and I mean, other films that my dad, we saw, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid a few years later.
Yeah.
We saw West Side Story. My sisters were all into musicals.
Yeah.
And so all my female friends, with all my knowledge of musicals, and would have they go, "Are you sure you're not gay, dude?" I go, "No, I'm just a musical buff."
Right.
And
which is okay.
So we saw some movies. Then when I was a little bit older, and we could walk to the Carlos Theater, we could walk to the. There were 3 theaters in downtown where I grew up in San. 3 theaters within walking distance.
Yeah.
That's how amazing it was. There was the Laurel, which showed up a little more B-run kind of movies. There was the Carlos, which was more the A-run. And there was later on the Tivoli came up, which is now the Tavola Building.
Right.
And I saw the very first movie there was Von Ryan's Express with Frank Sinatra.
No way.
So we'd go see surf movies that there in the Foxy. Like Bruce Brown movies, Endless Summer, things like this, and we'd go see Hard Day's Night.
Yeah,
those kind of which is critically acclaimed movie, but so we'd see some really cool movies like for 25 cents.
Yeah, definitely the best Beatles movie.
Oh yeah, The Help was thrown together.
Yeah,
So it was a good time. It was a really good time to be, alive.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna go off that, and so what is your favorite scary / horror movie? If you're into that.
When you say favorite, I'm going to be the kind of guy that has several favorites.
That's fine.
For me, some of the up against the best movies that are underrated, like The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing with Kurt Russell, fantastic, scary.
So you like the remake better than the original from Howard Hawks?
Yes, I do. Okay. And I'm not a remake guy, but that one I did love, and that segues into the soundtracks. The soundtrack, which we'll talk about later, but soundtracks are either great music involved, like Dazed and Confused, or Woodstock, the movie.
Sure.
Or it's the
score.
It's the score and how it fits the movie. Gladiator had a fantastic, with that haunting soundtrack, and the soundtrack to The Thing was also haunting with the beat and what have you. So The Thing's a fantastic. The two, I also love Poltergeist. Steven Spielberg said he wanted to make a movie that is a nightmare from a child's point of view,
and it is
because we're all children.
Yeah.
If you ever read interviews with Spielberg, he's a child. His whole life is influenced by how children think of the world.
Right. E.T.
Exactly. Close Encounters, and so he made that movie, which is a clowns coming to life, trees swallowing boys, on and on, and it's a little over the top, and almost comical and over the top, yet scary, creepy, and affecting. So that's a great motion picture. So that's another one. You could also throw in the cross between the genre of science fiction and horror, like Aliens. Absolutely world-class, fantastic motion picture. Ridley Scott and whoever the other director was of that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to go with the two. It's going to be Psycho and The Exorcist. Those are the kings, and that's it. It's like whether you like the Stones or the Beatles, those are the kings.
That's true.
And those two movies are the kings of the horror genre.
And definitely The Exorcist was the most. That one, I think a lot of people said The Omen. The original Gregory Peck.
That was a great motion picture. I never forget the scene in The Omen when, 2 scenes when the nanny says, "Damien, this is for you. I love you," and she hangs herself off the roof. That's kind of the beginning of it all.
Yeah.
There's another scene when Lee Remick wakes up in the hospital, and she looks up, and there's the scary other nanny who pulls the veil back, and very, very good motion. Really good. Really well done. Yeah. Really well done motion. We could probably go down the list of good ones.
Oh, sure.
Those are good ones.
Yeah.
There's been some other, like for instance, there have been some comical ones. Did you ever see the original Fright Night?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Great motion picture, and it's comical and scary with Chris Sarandon doing a bang-up job as Dracula or as a vampire.
Sure.
And that's when, there's a scene in there when he goes to, the boy finds out that, well, don't worry, a vampire cannot come into your home unless he's been invited by and he comes home and he's sitting there and he goes, how'd you get it? He goes, your mom invited me.
Yeah.
And so the whole scene is creepy.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I'm going to bed. He goes, see you soon, Jamie, whatever his name is. He goes, I'll see you. He goes, soon. It's just creepy. The whole ominous part of that. So I wish the horror genre was not somehow looked down the nose upon by the literary mob, because it shouldn't be.
No.
I was reading about 10 or 12 years ago in either the New Yorker or the New York Times, but it was their literary editor, the main guy, who was writing an article saying that he believes that Stephen King and William Shakespeare are the two best authors of all time. Don't tell your dad. But your dad would agree. And he gives his reason why. But it wasn't for the horror genre being somehow enjoyed, but looked down upon.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
As opposed to drama or comedy is the same way.
Oh, absolutely.
You look at a movie like Animal House, which every male considers one of the great for what it's trying to be, a great comedy. And so horror has been looked down upon. I don't. Like The Sixth Sense was considered a horror movie when it came out. That wasn't a horror movie. That was really a touching tale. Same with Carrie. Stephen King's Carrie is not a horror movie. It's a sad story of a girl who just wants to be a girl.
That's right.
And her mom's just a freak and won't allow it.
Wants to be accepted.
It's that's a fantastic motion picture. The original Carrie. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing about comedies. They'll never win Academy Awards. It just doesn't get the love it deserves. And
even like It's a Mad World.
It's brilliant.
Was loved, but but it's just a comedy. Just in fact, just a lowbrow slapstick comedy, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
They're looked down upon by the intelligentsia. I'm going, why?
But
because they're phenomenally entertaining,
right? But these are the same people that like the Three Stooges, but then would never give Dumb and Dumber its due. Well, I think it happened one night. Does it happen one night? Yeah, with Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert.
I know I saw it along with Some Like It Hot. Those kind of that genre.
They've won awards. They would win awards, but today, no. I mean, I asked someone, the best picture in 1986 was Out of Africa. Now, good movie, a lot of people, but does it stand? Yeah, does it stand the test? And Meryl Streep doesn't stand the test of time as compared to Back to the Future, which came out the same year. Back to the Future would never win an Academy Award.
I think there's a degree of political correctness too, with the Academy. Like some of these things, like I don't know what Life of Pi or whatever. Come on, I don't know. And it's the same thing. Like when I'm a rock and roll fan.
Yeah,
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame votes. For,
don't get me started on that.
You're leaving out this and you're putting in this.
Yes.
I don't understand it. And I know there's a degree of what people want to like. I'm a huge Lou Reed fan.
Yeah.
I'm also Elvis Costello. Can you name 4 of their songs? Can you name 50 Doobie Brothers songs? What I'm saying is what I'm saying is okay. So you just leave me out of that.
Well, how does Deep Purple finally get in? I think they finally got in last year, but then what was the rap group got in that? NWA got in and. ABBA was in. All these bands that aren't really technically rock and roll, where you're leaving out.
I saw Cheap Trick just several months ago.
Yeah, they'll never get in.
Well, and I don't even know why they're nominated. I saw them with Peter Frampton.
Yeah.
But they're not a Hall of Fame band.
Yeah.
They're not. I mean,
I think Journey finally got nominated. And Journey, I mean, they had tons of hits.
Yeah, Journey I could see there because they were the head of the world for a number of years.
Yeah.
And I could see that. I was also a Journey fan when they split off from Santana, their first 3 albums, in the Kohoutek days. I saw them at the Varsity Theater on University Avenue with Neil Schon, Greg Raleigh. And that was 1976 or 5.
Yeah.
And they were magnificent, but they played music that the mainstream didn't like.
Exactly.
And then they got in Steve Perry, which changed their sound. They ended up not liking. Now later on, went back and said, "Wow, why would we not like it? It's just a change in sound, right?" Yeah. Don't get me started on the rock. Well, so the horror genre to me is a magnificent genre, and it just sells, and people like it, just like the comedy genre.
Yeah.
And even a lowbrow slapstick, if that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, Dumb and Dumber or. Liar Liar was a very good movie. Jim Carrey is brilliant at what he does,
yeah.
And some of the other comedies.
The Mask,
yeah, and some of the comedies from the olden days that were just zany. Rat Race is a very, very good movie that's overlooked.
Yeah, well, it's a remake of basically it's a
it's a zany movie, and I love those kind of things. So for me, I love a good scary flick.
Yeah,
and for me, the ultimate scary is creepy, and that's where I think like The Exorcist is just the creep.
Right.
Like you're looking at the corners of the room if you're watching this movie. You're like, holy crap, that kind of thing.
It doesn't need the jump scare. It's got the reality to it.
Do you remember Joe Bob Briggs?
Yeah, of course.
And his driving
movie.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And whatever that show he had on, and driving movie show, and he was commenting, and I was watching The Exorcist like a lot of years ago, 10, 12.
Yeah.
And he had The Exorcist on, and boom, he stopped the movie at about an hour 21. He goes, okay, I'm stopping the movie because I want you to know this. He goes, think about this. He goes, it's an hour 21 in or hour 12. And he goes, and this is the first scary thing that's happened, yet you've been scared from the opening credits.
It's true.
That's an effective movie.
Absolutely.
And that's Hitchcockian, which is like a bomb could go off, or you could know there's a bomb under the desk.
Right.
And the anticipation factor.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not what you see, it's what you think you're going to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Use the mind.
That's right. Did you ever get into the William Castle movies? The Tingler and the Vincent Price and
No. I've seen Vincent Price movies, but I could not even come close to remembering Vincent Price or Bela Lugosi or those kind of movies. But
because those were the campy classics where he'd actually set up like the shock seats and things like that, where the Tingler was coming after you. It's fun time.
I love that idea.
Yeah, it was great. It was all show.
Did you ever see the John Goodman movie where he was a B-movie producer who came to towns in the 50s, whatever it was, and then he would have his kind of B horror movies, and then he would have like Christian hire protesters to protest the movie.
That's right.
So that people would gain interest in it.
Yeah.
Like if Christians really wanted, remember when The Last Temptation of Christ, Before Your Time, if they really wanted people not to watch that movie, don't stand in line and pick at the movie.
Exactly. It was like the PMRC in the 80s. Like, they put the sticker on there, and the albums that they labeled as the Dirty Dozen ended up selling more because of that, because that's what the kids wanted. So,
well, there's always that factor. In the 1960s,
the
CIA and the FBI mostly would incite anti-Vietnam War riots to find out who attended them, then take notes on for J. Edgar Hoover.
Exactly.
That's a little bit off the subject.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to go to more... Well, this is still bad stuff. So, what was the worst movie you saw on a date, and what was the worst date you had at a movie? Either or.
Okay, I have to think back a little bit. But the one that strikes me was a combination of both. It was one of the best movies I've ever seen, Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
And my date walked out on it. My girlfriend, because it was so violent, which it is.
It is.
It's a horribly, mentally, emotionally, viscerally violent movie, and that's the point.
Yes.
Tarantino's violence is almost comical and graphic, and the point of it is that.
The slaughterhouse.
And that movie was a horrible war, and everything about it was horrible, and that movie depicted that magnificently. She walked out, but here's the okay, that's good. She can walk out.
Yeah,
I love the movie. It's one of the greats. And here's the quandary, and that's like, I love this movie, but I should follow my girlfriend out.
And you stayed.
I don't remember. I'm just for the sake of anyone listening, I'm going to say, if you're female, I followed her out and said, honey. Yeah. And for the guys, no, I stayed. Anyway, I don't remember. I don't remember.
So did you stay with her after that, or was that?
Yeah, we dated for I lived with her and her family for 3 years. It was just a movie.
Got it.
And I look back on all the things I've done with communication and trying to learn how to be a better adult. Like, for instance, if she had, like nowadays, if she had said, honey, I'm not digging this and I'm going to leave. Yeah. Do you think you could come with me? I'd say, I'm all over that.
Right.
It's just a communication. Or she says,
back in the day,
we're leaving, right? I'm like, get some popcorn for me on the way up.
Do you know how much I paid to get in here?
I know, back then I was like, I paid $5 for these things.
Yeah, I'm not leaving. Yeah, I'm getting my money's worth. Right. What was the worst movie you actually saw on a date?
This I don't remember. I don't. And I haven't been to that many bad movies in the theater.
That's good.
I'm there to be entertained. Yeah. And I'll cut artistic license, like most people will, for a lot of movies. I've seen movies that were like, What was the one I saw? And it was a Brad Pitt movie, and I love Brad Pitt movies. And he played a reluctant hitman, and I literally went, it was like in the theater for a short time, and it wasn't very good. I've seen a few movies that you go, I remember I did walk out of one movie, and I forgot what it was, and it was a movie that, it was back, I had young children, and there was a child died in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't the Robin Williams one, Garp. That famous novel, but there was a movie where I just couldn't be part of it. For me, a movie that I won't even go to see, but I could walk out on, Believe It or Not, like the Liam Neeson series, Taken.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone, oh, isn't it great? No, it's gotten ridiculous in my mind. And people, oh, he rescued his girl. Well, the other little teenage girl was killed in that first one.
People forget about that. Yeah, exactly.
You know, I do remember one scene. There was a really good movie. Mel Gibson and Rene Russo were parents, and Gary Sinise was ultimately the cop bad guy. They kidnapped their son. Yeah. And it was called Ransom.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I just forgot about it. I thought, now I go, there was a scene in the movie where packed audience. We're at the Redwood City Theater, I think. Might have been the same hotel on the Redwood City was built then. Yeah. And then there's a kidnapped kid. It's really a viscerally horrible movie.
I remember seeing it.
But people are sticking with it. Yeah. And there's a scene when all of a sudden on the computer screen, they said, show me my son, proof of life, blah, blah, blah. And they show the little boy taped, you know, you felt a gasp in the audience and I go, they lost the audience. Yeah. They lost the audience. Right then, seeing a little boy kidnapped and it was horrible.
You didn't need to show it.
You didn't. It was like one of those things where you just go, and he lost me. I don't really want to see the rest of this movie. Yeah. You know, of course they're going to find him. Of course they're going to skip. But it was like a moment where there's a famous, fantastic interview years ago with Bruce Dern, who's been in more movies than who knows. Yeah. And he was talking about the movie industry and what he likes to do and on and on and on. And he goes, mostly I like to watch my daughter in movies nowadays. Yeah. But he goes, and they talked about writing. And there was a movie from the 60s, late 60s, might have been early 70s, called The Cowboys, John Wayne. Yeah. Very great motion picture. And in the movie, when John Wayne is enlisted and he has to finally take to a cattle drive with a bunch of boys, kids. Yeah. And it's kind of ill-fated from that standpoint. And all the personalities and what have you. And Bruce Dern in the movie, the bad guy, kills a boy in the movie. And so he goes, and he tells the story. He goes, I'm sitting on the cutting room floor with John Huston and John Wayne, or I think it was John Huston, the director, and I. So we're editing this movie. And Huston looks at us and goes, what do I do with this scene? Yeah. And so Bruce Dern goes, John's like, Bruce? He goes, if you leave this scene in, you will have a classic. And you'll lose your audience. Yeah. John said, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So they kept the scene in. It was considered a absolutely respected and wonderful movie by the critics and everyone else. A great John Wayne movie. And it was the lowest grossing John Wayne movie of all time. Right. So there was a decision at that particular point. There are some lines I don't think you can cross. You have a decision, a Rubicon at that point. Which way do we go in this?
I think a lot of people with animals, like humans, for whatever reason, it doesn't bother them. Maybe kids does, but you kill the animal. Like I remember when the movie Warhorse came out, and at Yahoo we had to look at the search logs, and some of them were, does the horse die? They wanted to know before they went to go see it, because if the horse died, that was it.
So to you listeners, if there's a dog in it, like Marley and me, the dog's going to die. I'm sorry, it's the way it is.
Old Yeller scarred me for life.
It's like, you know, the one I never forget being in the theater with my two little kids and my then wife, and we're watching a real good movie called Homeward Bound with Michael Fox, Sally Field, and Don Amici as the voice of the dogs and the cat. And they run away from home and during a move and what have you. And towards the end of the movie, finally the dog, and you see over the horizon on the field, here comes the cat. Sally Field, oh my gosh, and the little girl's cat. And here comes the young dog, and it's Michael Fox. Oh, all right. And then the boy's waiting for his wonderful dog who doesn't come over the hill. Yeah. And everyone in the audience, I can tear when I think about it. Everyone's crying, and I wanted to stand up and go, he's gonna come over the hill. I swear to God, he is. And all of a sudden, he comes over the hill, and everyone's applause. And I go, but that is that contrived? Yeah. Is that good contrived? Yeah. That's
tugging on the heartstrings.
That's good contrived. Yeah. Did you ever see My Dog Skip?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I thought that was a really underrated Willie Morris story and motion picture with a great actor, great understated actor, Luke Wilson. I think he's a great understated actor. Yeah. And it's with the Munoz young kid. Yeah. Real good movie. And the dog dies in it. One of the saddest things, Brian, I've ever seen is a Taxi episode. Remember the TV series Taxi?
Of course, yeah.
Great series. Yeah. Dan DeVito as the mean little Louis De Palma. The whole thing. And Alex Rieger, I can't remember the actor's name. Yeah. He's the main character. And in this show, Judd Hirsch. Judd Hirsch, yes. Judd Hirsch is the main. And so in the show, and at the taxi station, his parents bring him his childhood dog, who's like 19, who's dying. And they said, we want you to, oh, he's not. And so every episode, everyone from who's the boxer that?
Tony Danza.
Tony Danza.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, hey,
Henner,
everyone's really sympathetic.
Yeah.
Hey, how's the dog? Oh, the whole time he said, it's just a dog. Don't worry about me. The whole thing. Yeah. It's okay. Everything's like, the whole episode is just, it's just a dog. Don't worry about me. And they're okay. Yeah. And at the end, the dog dies.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there all alone, and he just starts crying. It's touching.
Yeah, it is. Well, they're part of the family, and they don't.
He goes, it's just a dog.
Yeah.
It's just a dog, and then he starts crying. It's just touching. So you have the animal thing, is you have to be careful.
Yeah.
So kids, research that before you go.
Kids and animals, they're untouchables. You can't go there. Yeah. So we're gonna go from that to, this is a perfect segue to, who is your favorite killer / villain?
There's so many good ones. There's in my opinion, the best sci-fi movie of all time, easily, is Blade Runner.
Really?
Just absolutely stunning motion picture, which takes on two incarnations. When the money people didn't like it, so they forced Ridley Scott to put narration. It took it from a 5-star movie to a 3-star movie overnight with Harrison Ford's droll, that's okay. We found out he's something else anyway, so maybe that's how they spoke. But Rutger Hauer in that movie is a menacing, I'll call him a bad guy, whatever it was, misunderstood. But he's fans. We could go on and on as to terms of villains, but Kaiser Sose to me is the ultimate villain.
Yeah, The Usual Suspects. That's right.
Because he's a myth. A legend, and he's the devil, and even Interpol. They go, we've only heard him. He doesn't really exist. They go, he exists. Yeah. So Kaiser, I just have to say.
And it's before Spacey really got big. That was one of his earlier roles. Yeah.
In fact, if you look back, there are other roles. Nick Nolte in a movie called Q&A is a bad cop. Is fantastic.
What year did that come out?
I'm guessing late '80s.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that.
He's a bigger than life, dirty cop who's scarier than scary. Another one is called Internal Affairs, where Richard Gere, who has the ability to make a good movie and ruin a movie, in my opinion. Yeah. He's a dirty cop, and he's fantastic in it. Yes. And so he's bigger than life. Who else? What other villains might you think of, like certain?
Well, there were the classic.
Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians.
Of course. A lot of people said Darth Vader. That's an obvious one. Norman Bates could have been on there. I had guys from, because my era is the 80s, so the kid from Karate Kid, Johnny, and the evil sensei, things like that. Those always, yes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm I was just talking 80s with the patient you saw with Jonathan.
Yeah.
We were talking about, because he's doing his college applications just now, a patient of mine, and I said, and I started talking about, have you seen Risky Business? Because it's about a college, and it turns out that, okay, now because of all that's going on, the recruiter comes, I know you're not going to hire me. He goes, yeah. As a matter of fact, I look at it differently. Yes, I think you're just what Harvard needs. Yeah. An entrepreneur like this. That's a real good movie.
He probably wouldn't have gotten in if he hadn't dealt with all the trials and tribulations of that one night.
So. 80s had a tremendous amount of good movies, including, I think, the most underrated director-writer of all time. That's John Hughes.
Yeah.
Magnificent. He captured the essence and spirit with his touching good trains, planes, automobiles, with his... We can go on and on.
Yeah.
With the scene in that movie with Steve Martin and John Candy.
Oh, brilliant.
Steve Martin became brilliant as a comic when he decided to be the straight man that people played off of.
Yeah.
Because he's Ben Stiller type now.
Yeah.
Brilliant at that. Andy Griffith was the guy with the seminal TV show was the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah.
It's considered like the sitcom that things were built upon. And Andy Griffith was No Time for Sergeant. Danny Thomas and Sheldon Leonard got him and said, we're going to make this series. And after their film, he goes, something's not right. He came to those two. I did an interview with Andy Griffith. He came to those guys, if you know the story. And they go, what do you think? He goes, I don't think I should be the funny man in the straight man. What should be? I should be the straight man.
Right. That's why Don Knotts was so great.
And that's what he hired. He goes, I'm just the guy to be. And then the show exploded from there. So some people recognize that. And I think 80s movies, of course, absolute seminal movie, because it was taken from a teeny sex movie, taken not from the male get laid perspective, from the female perspective, was Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Sure.
Cameron Crowe's first effort.
Yeah.
And
he wrote the novel.
Yes, and Amy Heckerling
directed it.
And they hired her because they wanted a female's perspective. And it was a brilliant motion picture.
It is.
Absolutely
and it still holds
classic.
Up today.
Yeah.
It was funny. The early 80s kind of had the raunchy sex comedies and Porky's and Losing It and movies like that.
But guys losing their virginity.
Yeah. But then it transitioned to John Hughes, where it was more mature. You had The Breakfast Club and 16 Candles and things like that. And those are all great.
And The Breakfast Club, certainly when we look on it with a little more jaded eyes now, it was contrived and it was silly. But it was also very good.
Yeah.
It had that component with you like the characters and the whole thing. It was very, very very good.
And a good movie's a good movie. If the story holds up.
16. To me, two of those, Weird Science and 16 Candles, fantastic motion pictures.
Yeah, they're brilliant. They're so much fun.
And if you look at the actors that were in those then, they were fantastic actors.
They were great. Yeah. They were absolutely great. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go to another director, near and dear to my heart, Hitchcock. So what are your favorite Hitchcock movies? You mentioned Psycho before.
Yeah, Psycho for sure.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting. I just watched it a few months ago, and it's a long one, like 3+.
Yeah.
Almost 4. And you never lose interest in it. It's a really good motion picture.
Yeah.
Rear Window is a brilliant directorial job because it's basically 90-something% in one room.
Absolutely.
You have to be good at that. Like Colin Farrell had a movie where he was in a phone booth. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
That's also
phone booth.
Yeah, that's also was a good job.
Yeah.
Because you have one setting, and so the dialogue and the intensity has to carry it.
Keeps you engaged.
And Rear Window, Jeremy Store. So, and he was the photographer with the broken leg and then legs. Remember?
Absolutely, yeah.
And Raymond Burr.
He was the villain.
What's his name? Perry Mason as the villain. Real good motion picture. Topaz was terrific. North by Northwest was not a great movie, but very entertaining movie.
Cary Grant's great and everything.
Yeah, and of course the Burrs the local scene up here. But for me, it's gonna be Psycho. How about you?
The thing about I'll get into it. The thing about Hitchcock is he hated filming on location. He also loved filming in the Bay Area. I have a book just on all the locations like Vertigo and things like that. Shadow of a Doubt.
Vertigo was Jimmy Stewart also.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
is that the one with Doris Day?
No, Vertigo is with.
That's not Que Sera.
No, oh, God, what's her name? It's a blonde, as it always is.
Yeah, well, Hitchcock did have a
Kim Novak.
Kim Novak, yeah. Which was the Hitchcock movie when Mrs. Hitchcock comes up to Scarlett Johansson, the character, and said, "By the way, thank you. You were very professional."
Yeah.
She goes, "And that will not go unnoticed."
Right.
I thought that was a great scene.
Well, you hear about what Tippi Hedren's been saying about Hitchcock, so who knows?
I hope you bookmark where you're at. I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were talking about Hitchcock movies.
Yeah.
You're talking about your favorite. You're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking.
So, Psycho, just because it's the first one I saw. It was the first one my dad told me about.
It's a creeper.
Yeah, he saw that in the theater. He remembers.
You kill off the main character in the first 33 minutes.
The great part about that is Hitchcock made sure that if you entered the theater, doors were locked once the movie started, because he didn't want you to miss any of that. Because it really is two different movies. You know, the intro with Janet Leigh is completely different than where it goes. Brilliant.
She was an embezzling little embezzler.
That's right. But you forget about that because of the shower scene and things like that. The Birds is a close second. And I don't know if you know this, but the original ending, the ending that everyone saw was the birds are very calm, they drive away. It was supposed to be that same thing, they drive away, except it keeps going, and you start to think, okay, they're going to make it back to the city from Bodega Bay, they'll be great. Well, you start
it's the end of the world, I tell you.
Yeah, so you see over the horizon. The Golden Gate Bridge starts coming into view, and the entire bridge is filled with birds.
Why did he edit that out?
They never actually filmed it. It was a storyboard, and they were going to film it. It was too much money.
See, that seems like such a nowadays theme, meaning since that point of the end, or is it?
Right.
That whole thing,
And that's great. I love stuff like that. So, but
no, I liked the birds too.
Yeah,
that was
But I also enjoy his earlier stuff. So like his British films, like The Lady Vanishes, and I don't know if you've seen those, but they're definitely worth checking out. They're different and they're very of the time because it was getting into World War II and he was in the UK. So those are very a lot of espionage.
Did you like Hitchcock with Anthony Hopkins?
I did. I enjoyed it. Anthony Hopkins, talking about villains.
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, and that's as great as it gets. So, but
Clarice.
Yeah.
what is it? I love the thing. He goes, "What is that we covet most?"
Yeah.
What, Dr. Lecter? That which we see every day. I don't know who directed Hannibal. That was a famous director, though, or Sounds of the Lambs.
Was it Jonathan Demme? No, I'd have to look.
Absolutely. Yeah. That could be in the horror genre.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely great movie. I mean, absolutely great.
So it was interesting. On that episode, people picked Hannibal, but they also picked Buffalo Bill because he's really the worst villain of them all. As bad as Hannibal is, you need him and you like him compared to the other guy. So.
And I think there's a two style of villains. There's the Clint Eastwood style, which is white hat, black hat, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that works real well.
Sure.
Unforgiven is one of the great motion pictures of all time.
Absolutely.
And that's it. And then there's the other one where you kind of see the side of the Hannibal side. Yeah. He's on your side a little bit too.
Yeah.
And so that's that works also.
He lets you in, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Unforgiven, Gene Hackman, one of the greatest actors there is. He's a villain in a lot of things.
A likable villain.
He is.
Little Bill.
Yeah.
With the bad carpenter and the whole thing.
Yep.
Misfire. The great scene. Get him, boys.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman I've never seen a Gene Hackman thing, whether he's the pathos role in The Firm with Tom Cruise and that
he's a villain there too.
Is it Grisham?
Yeah.
And whether he's Popeye Doyle when he won the Academy. I saw that in the theater.
There was an anti-hero. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No matter what he's done an incredibly good job with everything he's done. In fact, he's been underrepresented in movies because he's so good.
Did you see Absolute Power, where he plays the congressman that gets caught? That's great.
Yeah.
Another good
and when he goes down, well, he's a politician, so they all should go down.
That's right. You actually feel good for the bank robber, which is Clint Eastwood. So.
Yeah, wasn't he in that
Runaway Jury? He played the villain.
Yeah, well, he played the jury selector.
Yes,
which is a villain of sorts.
Exactly.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
What was the movie? No Way Out.
Oh, yeah.
Or was it One Way Out?
No, it's No Way Out, and that's a remake of The Big Clock with Raymond Milland.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a...
Kevin Costner.
I'm not a Costner fan. I think he's a wooden actor. Yeah. But he got better as time went along. But back then, he was a wooden actor, I thought. But that was a pretty good movie.
That was one of his breakout
roles. Was it Hackman in that? Was he the senator that was involved in the jury?
Sean Young.
Yeah, right. Sean Young, another person who's had a great career and imploded her own career.
Because it was not easy to work with. Yes.
Right. It's like, stop being such a bee and just enjoy your life.
Exactly.
Get along with people.
But that's what she's known for now.
Well, Peter Sellers did that, and he didn't do as many movies as he could have.
No. Or Faye Dunaway. Kind of the same.
I didn't know that about Faye Dunaway. God, she was so pretty.
She kind of turned into the Joan Crawford character in Mommy Dearest, supposedly on the set.
Because Faye Dunaway in 3 Days of the Condor, very sexy.
Bonnie and Clyde.
And there's a great scene in there when Robert Redford, that's a great motion pick. Not good, great motion, 3 Days of the Condor. And there's a scene there when he's had her handcuffed because she's kind of a hostage, semi-hostage, willing. And all of a sudden, when later on he goes, how come you haven't asked me to take off the handcuffs?
Yeah.
She went,
it's a great movie.
Max von Sydow.
And that's one that people don't remember or think about, but that my dad used to praises that one.
That's a good one. It came out not a dissimilar time to The Boys from Brazil. There were several intriguing movies along those lines. Painting U.S. covert operations and not necessarily the best light.
Did you see Bonnie and Clyde?
I saw it in theater.
Yeah, that's another great one.
Michael J. Pollard. I think it was his name. Played the sidekick.
Gene Hackman's in that too, and Gene Wilder has a small role.
I did not know.
They pick him up. Yeah.
That part of one of the best. Richard Pryor and him, one of the best comedy duos of all time.
Oh, and Blazing Saddles, and which couldn't be made today.
Well, Blazing Saddles, of course, you know the story behind why they wouldn't hire Richard Pryor. That was a movie that was a vehicle that was made for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he wrote on.
Yes, he did. But they came to Mel Brooks and said he's too much of a wild card with this cocaine. We can't do it.
That's right.
So Cleavon Little did a bang up job, but that was a vehicle written for the brilliant Richard Pryor, and that really came to be. And was Mel Brooks made Blazing Saddles and
Young Frankenstein
in the same year.
Amazing.
Have a year.
Yeah.
Dude.
Have a career.
That's like Buster Posey winning like Rookie of the Year, MVP World Series. You can retire now.
Yeah, he's like Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant for the Cubs. Same thing. He's the new Buster Posey for the Cubs.
Which is cool.
Okay, we're gonna go to favorite soundtracks.
This is a tough one because for me, we touched on it.
Yeah.
Soundtracks for me can be like I saw the movie Woodstock in the theater.
Yeah,
and was a seminal point in history, and it was a great. I'll call that a soundtrack, even though it is the movie.
Yeah,
and that's got to be the ultimate of that.
That's good. Nobody's mentioned that.
Yeah, Santana, Michael Shreve, and his drum solo.
Yeah.
There's some things that were built along those lines. Yeah. There's a famous story that people who didn't attend, like Ricky Nelson, who wrote Garden Party, where they came to say, "We want you to play your old hits." He goes, "I don't want to do that."
Yeah.
Because he was to end of his career with the rockabilly and the whole thing. He was a huge star.
Yeah. Led Zeppelin was supposed to be there. They turned it down.
Did not know that.
They didn't think it was going to
go anywhere.
That's right.
It
made Jimi Hendrix. He was around, but that kind of put him over.
Absolutely. Yeah. From the Monterey Pop to that, Hendrix was a world class, which he was anyway. But so I'm going to say Woodstock. Scorsese was on that movie. He was a filmer and a film editor on that. So that was, I think, his foray into he made a movie with the band and Rolling Stones.
Yeah, the Last Waltz.
Yes, and so he's obviously, and his soundtracks are magnificent.
Always.
Also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, other than that, like when it comes to music, Dazed and Confused like that, my era, because that was actually how I grew up. I was graduation night 1975. That's
your era. Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And so hanging out, drinking, and
great
and
movie.
The whole, yeah.
Did you ever get the extended Woodstock where they have everything, like
No.
where they include Creedence and they include Mountain and all the stuff they cut out,
Wow.
which they shouldn't have cut
I
out.
didn't
Janis
know
Joplin, they cut out Janis Joplin.
I didn't know Creedence and
We're even there, yeah.
I didn't know Mountain was cut out.
Yeah, Canned Heat, like,
Felix Pappalardi,
Yeah.
and Leslie West.
amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, Leslie West is one of the most underrated guitarists out there. That was Pete Townshend's favorite guitar player.
Yeah.
Was Leslie West.
Well, I was watching Ozzy Osbourne on a TV show, and he had his top favorite bands of all time. Mountain was on his top list.
They
and of course,
deserved it.
he's like everyone else. They go, well, there's the Beatles and everyone else. That's just it.
Sure.
Everyone even Lemmy from Motorhead
Absolutely.
said, he goes, still there's the Beatles, and we want them to be Beatles. It's
They
just the
changed
way it was.
everything.
Yeah,
Yep.
they did. So,
Even though I'm more of a Stones fan than the Beatles.
no, yeah, well, then I can say this: it's those two and everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was Beatles, but their progression is so, their arc is so similar.
Yeah.
The Beatles were the Liverpudlian bad guys in leather jackets that they dressed up for America. They needed to bring it to America.
Right.
And then the Stones said, we're the educated London University economics students, but we're going to play that
role.
You play that role.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just did this all their careers, and it worked out beautifully
Absolutely.
for both of them.
Yeah. By the way, I mean, we're going to date ourselves, but Stones have a new blues album coming out in 2 weeks where they just do all the old blues covers. And
Wow,
so that'd be good.
I just heard yesterday on the radio on Sirius 1964
Mm-hmm.
their famous Jimmy Reed blues song. Little Red Rooster.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's 64. It
Yeah.
was just so country howling bluesy. It was
their first couple albums, until they basically got to Out of Our Heads, was all just Chuck Berry and a lot of the old blues stuff.
well, all the early rock and rollers, including Carl Perkins.
It's all covers. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and Carl Perkins was Elvis. And Little Richard was Elvis.
Yeah.
But
Well,
he was black.
yeah, exactly. Jerry Lee Lewis should have been bigger than Elvis if he had basically killed his own career.
He was just he did his own thing. He was such an odd guy.
Yeah.
But those guys emulated all those, Howlin' Wolf and
Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry, all those guys, they emulated him.
Yeah.
And I could see Little Richard being being a little bitter with something to point out. That was me.
Well, Pat Boone's taking his songs and
Toot-
really sugarcoating.
Yeah. With his white shoe. Remember him tapping going, Tutti Frutti?
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's awful.
And good golly, Miss Molly, I saw Tom Jones sing. Now, Tom Jones was a great artist.
He is.
But Tom Jones is, yeah. Tom Jones, he used to have a TV show for a summer called the Tom Jones Show. And he had a guitarist named Tony, I forget what was that, but it was just fantastic.
Yeah.
And Tom Jones did a Good Golly Miss Molly. And there's a TV, and he goes, "You sure like to throw that ball?" I'm like, that's not it.
Yeah, it's not the same.
That's not the same.
It's not the same.
So soundtrack. Go back to
yeah.
Then there's the mood. All good movies, if you watch it, have a soundtrack. Right nowadays, all have good soundtracks.
Yeah.
Because they contribute to the movie and contribute to the ambience of what you're trying to feel.
Yeah.
They've probably done studies in film classes where they take an ominous scene and put different music to it. It's just incongruent. It's just because our senses are not commingling at that point in the right direction, right? So once again, John Carpenter's The Thing, man, fantastic. Here's what I'm going to point out, which has a great soundtrack to it. Cool Hand Luke. Go
Good
revisit.
point. Yeah.
Go revisit that movie with the guitar.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's just a great movie.
I thought you were going to say Deliverance.
That's also
just the guitar.
that's an underrated movie until you mention it to guys. You go, everyone. That's a great motion
It
picture,
is.
eerie, ominous, and what have you.
Sure.
And it's certainly the soundtrack of that.
Yeah.
And I suppose you could pull like any songs that were nominated for things. You
Sure.
could probably. Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Oh, yeah,
B.J. Thomas and all that was Burt Bacharach and all that era when he owned the world.
The Sting, the Scott Joplin.
Another, I thought about that the other day. I go because we were talking about having a movie night. We had to have movie nights at my house, and we just do that. Our last one we watched, I think, was. What did we watch? We watched Big Trouble in Little China. It was my choice.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. John Carter gives a great emotion. All guys like that.
Yeah.
I don't know females as much. I don't know, but guys love that movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Soundtracks are such an integral part nowadays.
Yeah.
And they actually, when you go to watch the THX surrounds, they overdo it. It's just
They
so
do.
loud.
It's too much.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
And you have to create the. That's why I like Ridley Scott Gladiator. That woman's that haunting, beautiful voice in the Latin language. I don't know what it is. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It contributes exactly to the ambiance of the motion picture.
Well, my favorite, and it's on the episode, is Rocky, and it's all the Rockies, especially the first one. The fight scene, though, the training scene, though it seems cliche now. The horns are gonna fly now. I mean, if that doesn't give you goosebumps, I don't know what does. Yeah, I mean, and the
Rocky
fight
was
scene,
campy and overdone and fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely
but
fantastic.
But at the time, it was groundbreaking. Nobody did a fight movie like that, and now it seems cliche, but everyone copied that format.
They even did a commercial like 5 or 6 years ago for some product, and it was not Toto. Who did Eye of the Tiger?
Survivor.
Yeah. And it was Survivor. Yeah. And they were doing dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
And it was like, they were like mocking because like it was like an office setting. And they go, what about Ned? Ned.
Yeah.
It was a good job.
It's iconic. Well, originally Stallone wanted to use Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. Queen didn't give him the rights, so he settled for Eye of the Tiger. Well, Survivor wasn't well known, but it ended up being perfect. The intro leading to the drums. The drums sound like punches. I mean, it's perfect.
Pop, pop,
yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. And the Rocky series. Yeah. And one of my favorite stories in Hollywood history, like when people goes, hey, Stallone, hey, I don't tell him wear them things, Yeah. So Stallone comes across that way. He's a brilliant guy.
He wrote the screenplay.
He watched The Thrill in Manila. He came home and wrote Rocky, shopped it for a year. And he was a struggling artist, did some light porn. He wasn't making money.
No.
Until they kept saying, well, we'll buy it. We'll have Paul. No, he goes, no. He goes, I'm Rocky. You don't get it. I'm Rocky. Yeah. And he stuck by his guns, and that's just it. I respect him for that.
Chuck Wepner was the guy that actually knocked down Ali. He was this unknown fighter. He got a shot.
Chuck Wepner.
Yeah, and he ended up losing the fight, but he knocked down Ali. You can only say he knocked down Ali. But the original ending was supposed to be kind of gritty and dark, like the 70s, where Rocky gets tangled up with the loan sharks again, and he throws the fight. But they changed it, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah, everyone's glad they did.
Yeah,
because he has that solemn. The original has so much pathos in that he couldn't even break people's legs. He's just too kind of a guy.
Exactly. Even The Natural. Did you ever see The Natural with Robert Redford?
Sure. Yeah.
In the original novel, he strikes out on purpose. He goes with the gamblers and he strikes out. But that movie, it just, my dad hated the book because he saw the movie first, and he's like, oh, this is terrible. The magic of the movie, even though it is campy and he knocks out the lights and it would never happen, it doesn't matter. That sticks with you. That's what makes it brilliant.
Campy works when it works. So one of the things you're not going to ask is greatest sports movies or baseball movies. And
we can get into that. Yeah.
And I think most of them are bad. I honestly do.
Really?
I see a guy like a Kevin Costner who thinks he's an athlete because he swung a baseball bat and he played in a golf movie. I just kind of, I don't know.
Okay.
And then you see a guy like Charlie Sheen trying to throw a fastball. No, they're entertaining. But to me, unless I got it wrong and I'm thinking wrong, the best sports movie I've ever seen is The Sandlot. Fantastic motion picture.
I enjoy that
and that's just I've seen it so many times, and that's a great motion picture. And that's kind of a kid's movie, but not really.
Sure.
And so I get disappointed in sports movies because I see guys go, you're not really an athlete.
Well, I'm going to respectfully disagree about Costner because if you've ever seen For the Love of the Game, he threw as many pitches as a normal pitcher would.
Okay.
And what makes that is Vin Scully. So Vin Scully is the brilliant announcer that just retired for the Dodgers.
Did you hear his phone call from Obama or from Obama's office?
Yeah,
it was
he
kind
won
of
the
cool.
presidential award.
He was Vin Scully.
Well, if you listen to his farewell speech at Dodger Stadium, it's brilliant. The guy's 90 years old, and nobody is like him, and that's why he's the best.
No, I mean we're fortunate in the Bay Area to have who we have. Those guys, John Miller, we have the crew guy. They're great. The Warriors broadcasters, they're great. I date back to Lon Simmons and on and on, and Hank King. Bill King didn't win an award, but he's the most underrated. He was brilliant.
He could do anything.
And so we've been fortunate to have some of those guys.
Absolutely.
I'm still not, you're going to disagree with me because your dad would disagree. I'm not a Joe Buck hater. Everyone seems to hate the national group. I go, I don't listen to them enough for them to wreck my broadcast. I'm watching what I'm watching here. Just because they're not a homer doesn't mean they're anti. They're not Mitch Williams, who is anti. But I don't really dislike those guys.
I think part of it is everyone loved his dad. Jack Buck was classic, and he was class, and he was a lot like Vin Scully. Joe rubs people the wrong way for some reason. I do like that Smoltz is doing the...
Smoltz
he's great.
Across the board, everyone thinks he is fantastic.
Yeah.
He's a breath of fresh air with his insights into what's going on. But Buck does come across a little bit of a...
He's arrogant.
An arrogant, elitist kind of, I'm pretty and I got this going on. It does come across that way.
I think that's a big... Because when I was watching the series in the 80s, they would rotate between Al Michaels, brilliant, and Vince Scully, and so it's how are you supposed to top that?
Did you ever hear Al Michaels' story when he's in the limo with Howard Cosell?
No.
Driving through San Francisco. He tells Howard Cosell, and he imitates Cosell, because they did everything together.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to bother to paraphrase the story, reenact it, because we're driving in a limo, we're going somewhere, we're having drinks, he's having drinks, and he's smoking a cigar, and as we're driving through the limo, there's a fight breaks out in Brooklyn, in a street corner. And so Cosell goes, "Driver, stop the car." I was like, "Oh, crap." He's like, "I'm trying to duck in here." And he gets out, and there's a brawl going on. And as they see Howard Cosell walk up, he goes, "Everyone stops." Because he was famous back then.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they stop. He goes, "There's a group of like 20 guys, and 2 guys are going at it. Men, And he goes, "Gentlemen, please." He goes, "Everyone stopped." And I'm kind of watching this from the window. And he goes, "As you can see, the protagonist pugilist is much greater size than you." And he went into this whole pontification. It goes to the point where, "Now, gentlemen, I think you should end this fiasco." Da, da, da. He goes, and it stopped the fight. Everyone kind of laughed. He goes, everyone said goodbye. He got back in the limo and says, "Driver, now take his." I'm going, holy Toledo. Because if you ever get a chance to Google it, it's one of those great stories that actually happened.
Yeah.
Just like there's a few other great stories in sports history. You doing okay?
No, yeah.
One of them is, who's the little guy, the NBC guy?
Marv Albert?
No, he's a famous announcer. I see his face, I can hear his voice right now.
What did he do?
He does baseball. He's more.
Bob Costas.
Bob Costas.
Yes,
so Bob Costas tells the story of the Kirk Gibson home run.
Yeah, of course.
Have you heard that?
Of course, yeah.
It's a fantastic. He goes, the Dodger batting coach, famous name, goes to tell him the story. He goes, "What do you think after?" He thinks he has one good swing in him.
Yeah.
That's the story.
Yeah.
And he did. And that's a fantastic story.
If that was a movie, you would say it's hokey.
Right.
But that's why the truth is actually stranger than fiction.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
He could barely walk, and
the Gimp, they called him.
Yeah, he did, and it was amazing. And I'll never forget. You'll see when the ball goes into the stands, you see the brake lights from all the cars that are probably listening to the game as it's happening. They want to come back and experience it.
Classic.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, that's one of the ultimate World Series moments.
Another great story is Bill Walsh's son, who I've met several times because he belongs to the same club I belong to. And he was on the local talk show after he wrote his book about his dad, telling the story of the famous sports story of when the Niners, who were the preeminent powers, they were playing Sam Weich's, who was my next door neighbor for a time, so I know Sam Walsh. Sam Weich. And he took over the Bengals. And the Bengals were a good team. Yeah. And they were playing in a regular season game, so everyone was jacked for this game. We're playing the Niners. The Bengals are good. They beat us already in one Super Bowl. Yeah. And so they came to the stadium. He goes, and I was in the stadium. And I was with the other owners and what have their son. And he goes, and the stadium was buzzing for 59 minutes and 50 seconds, stomping a vibration of, because they were beating the Niners. And it's the famous Sam Weiss decision where Sam Weiss decided on 4th and whatever it was. We had like 9 seconds, 10 seconds left in the game. He didn't want to give the ball back to Joe Montana with any time on the clock, so he tells his punter, run around and just run the clock out. He does that and gets tackled with 1 second left. Yeah. He goes, at that moment, I didn't know what was happening. I was walking through the stadium. I couldn't see anything. All of a sudden, the buzz went.
I remember this game.
The complete stadium died. Yeah. I knew something was. I thought, what? I've never felt a buzz stop, and I knew something was happening. Yeah. The crowd just went, oh, crap. Yep. Everyone, 65,000 in unison. Yeah. And so what happened was then, he's telling the story, then the Niners have one play left. Yep. They do a trips left, and Jerry Rice hits touchdown, game over. And Rice got a firestorm of crap from the media, which he should have. Yeah. That was in the same era when he said, "This is not Cleveland, for God's sake." Yeah. Remember that story? Yeah. So Sam Weiss, he goes, but here's the real story behind the story. He goes, earlier in the week, when we come out from film, my dad, Bill the Great, literally great, infamous great, Bill Walsh, says, we better develop a play. What kind of play? In case we have one play left to win the game. And they developed that play. Yeah. And as they practiced that week and it came time. That's one of those stories you're like, wow. Yeah.
I remember listening to that game on the radio, and I don't know if it was Lon Simmons or not, but he was like incredulous. Like, what are they doing?
What are they doing?
Yeah.
And there's a lesser version of that is the Rose Bowl with Vince Young and Matt Leinart. When they didn't want to get the ball to Vince Young, who was it's the best football game, I believe, ever played by a human being.
Yeah,
Vince Young,
I remember
game.
that. Yeah.
And ESC going for the 3rd straight national championship. And it wasn't the call on 4th and 2, Pete Carroll goes for it. Everyone knows he goes for it.
Sure.
Everyone gets it. It's the fact that Reggie Bush was on the sideline.
That's right.
Every defensive line, they interview him. Now they go, they have a famous 30, not 30 for 30, but a famous ESPN.
Yeah.
They go, we're all nervous. We know that we got to get the ball back to Vince. He's going to win the game.
Yeah.
That's it. And our team, our offense. He goes, we're all nervous. We look in the backfield and we see Lindell White.
Yeah.
And we look in the sideline. We all see Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
We all win. We know where it's going. We know what's happening. They stuff the play.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll, that's one of your 2 big blunders in life. Not handing it to Marshawn Lynch. There's no excuse in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
He lost the 2 biggest games, I believe, as a coach.
Yeah.
He lost the Rose Bowl. At least, you don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know either one of those. But Marshawn Lynch would have scored. He had 3 times the score. He was the best running back in football.
How do you not
Probably still is. He's not playing right now.
It's like the 49ers against the Ravens. They had a chance to Kaepernick could have run. Yeah. Why didn't
he forces it in over there, and that's not going to happen.
It's actually Kaepernick's fault. He should have. They had to call timeout because he didn't get the play in on time. He was going to score on that sneak, but it didn't happen. So.
Yeah. So there are things you look back on and you go, well, you make a decision.
That's
and you
right.
go, and like, what you never want. I coach football. What you never want to do is make your coaching mistakes because your whole plan is always to put your boys in the best position
to win.
Yeah. That's what you do. And when you make them, I've done it. I I felt horrible.
Sure.
Worse if I dropped a fly ball.
Yeah.
Because it happened. That's a physical error.
Yeah.
Like that. And so I don't know what Pete Carroll talked about.
It works both ways. There are times when you actually call the wrong play, but the player makes up for it, so it doesn't matter. But then you call the right play, and maybe they don't do it for you. So.
Coaching from a play-by-play standpoint, day-to-day standpoint, is overrated from the standpoint because they still have to execute.
Absolutely.
They have to execute.
Yeah. You can be the greatest coach. If you don't know the players, it's not going to work.
When I was studying about youth football to coach it, a great youth football, I'm reading his book, and he's talking about how in a championship game in youth football, he drew up the play to win the game. And he goes, and we won the game. And I'm brilliant. I'm a genius. He goes, and we went back over the film. Let's look at the play. Yeah. It was a so-and-so pitch dive. He goes, the guy who was supposed to block our guy fell down.
Yeah.
And then this guy went that way. He goes, everything went wrong.
Right.
But the guy happened to he goes, so I'm a genius because it just worked out.
Okay, so back to movies. I love sports. We could talk sports nonstop, too.
So sports movies are usually disappointing to me.
Okay.
Because I just don't feel I have never really felt the connection.
What about The Longest Yard?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds version.
Burt Reynolds. I didn't see the other one. I refused, but that was just great movie. That's when Burt Reynolds ruled the world and deserved to rule the world.
He actually played college ball, so
he played at Florida State, right?
Yeah. He was a running back.
Yeah, and so he was, and that was a great motion.
And they got real
Eddie Arnold.
They got real NFL like Ray Nitschke and I think was it Joe Cap and
Eddie Albert, not Eddie Arnold.
Yeah,
they had Nitschke, Cap. They had a few other guys that were in the movie that were it was a great motion picture.
Oh, it was.
So we'll call it a sports movie. Yeah, yeah. Bernadette Peters was in that. If you remember that.
Well, you could even go to MASH with just the football scene with Fred Williamson.
We got a red flag.
That was great.
Sally Kellerman.
Yeah, that's such a great one.
Yeah.
Okay, what was your favorite gangster / mafia?
Easily, your dad said I can't mention this one. I can't mention The Godfather.
Well, you can mention it and you can explain it, but you need another one besides that.
You're a Stones guy. To me, The Godfather is the Beatles. It's everyone else. It's just the absolute quintessential, and I think it's the best motion picture ever made.
So the first one or the second one?
First one.
Okay.
Second one's maybe one of the few sequels, so to speak, that were brilliant. Was brilliant.
Sure.
And it's a great motion picture. But the first one was just great. So The Godfather. So if you take that out of it, in the next realm. When I mentioned to some of my patients that I'm going to be doing this, and you give me a list of a few questions, they go, "Oh, everyone goes Goodfellas."
Exactly. That was my number one,
but not me.
Yeah.
I go, I liked it, but to me, Casino is a much better picture than Goodfellas.
It was in my top 10.
Even though I love Goodfellas,
Yeah.
Casino to me, the biopic of how Vegas was built, fantastic motion picture. So Casino's there, and so is Godfather 2. Which once you say Godfather 1, 2's overlooked.
It is, but it shouldn't be.
So for me, you could also go Departed, on and on and on.
Absolutely.
Real good motion pictures, but Godfather, and then for me, I'll say Casino. Mm-hmm. Sharon Stone, one of the most underrated actresses ever, and in that movie, I think she was just playing herself because she was a train wreck.
Yeah.
Sorry if you're listening.
Yeah.
You were a train wreck back then, and you were a brilliant train wreck.
Yeah.
And it was just a great motion picture.
There wasn't method acting there. It just worked.
What do I do? Just go out there and do it.
Yeah.
What a luxury that I'm sure that didn't happen, but a luxury like when you have you're filming Caddyshack.
Yeah.
And you're
Oh yeah, Rodney.
And you have these people. You just go do it. Or Animal House, just go do it.
Yeah.
And then you keep it. You're a director. You go. That's off the script. Keep it running.
Yeah. Well, suppose there's a. It's getting to my next one, but one of my guilty pleasure movies is Dirty Work, which is this underrated comedy. It's a screwball comedy, but modern day.
Dirty Work
with Norm Macdonald and guys like that. And
he's a Macdonald fan.
Yeah, and so there's a scene with Don Rickles, and they didn't even bother writing a script for Rickles, and Rickles all he does is insult the people, and it's brilliant because it's Rickles.
Good actor too.
Yeah, he is. He's in Casino. So
yes, he is, and he's also in that submarine movie, Run Silent, Run Deep, from years ago.
He's also, I think, in Kelly's Heroes.
Oh,
so there's no.
Yeah, Rickles, who's the king of mean, who I guess is one of the nicest guys in the world.
That's what they say.
Yeah, that's what they say.
So did you ever watch any of the gangster movies from the 30s and 40s? So
yeah, but I like for instance, I won't call it a gangster movie. It's a Prison Break, but I watched the one with called the Desperate Hours.
Oh yeah.
Really good motion picture.
Bogart.
Humphrey Bogart. Yeah. So I did see some of those, not that many. Like for instance, you go remember the I don't know who directed it, but it was with Sean Connery and Kevin Costner, Capone.
Yes.
I didn't like that.
Okay.
It was too over the top for me, and I just, for some reason, when I decide I don't like a movie, I'm not going to follow too much.
Sure.
But I haven't seen too many of the real movies from those days.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth checking out, like maybe High Sierra.
I've seen High Sierra.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I saw Treasure of Sierra Madre.
Okay, well that's brilliant. Talk about a great ending. That's a perfect ending.
I love the John Huston director, and they're in the bar when they come up. They go, "Oh," and he goes, "Well, let me tell you about greed and how it changes people." They're like, "Oh, that won't happen to us." He's like, "Okay, well, great motion picture."
John Huston directing his dad.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He was one of the miners in
Walter
that.
Huston.
Walter Huston. Yeah. So that's a great motion picture.
Yeah. Talk about quotable.
And there are several movies that are always quoted, and one is, of course, Caddyshack.
Yep.
And the other one is Animal House.
Yep.
You know, fat, drunk, and stupid is nowhere to go in life. Right. Or when someone hits a bad shot, my advice to you is to start drinking heavily. Right. So those are some of the guy quoted movies, and there's also
0.0. Yeah.
0 point. You have no grade point ever. Right. And so it's like, of course, Clint Eastwood writes his own stuff into, like, we all know the quotes, like Outlaw Josie Wales.
Yeah.
When the famous Native American Indian, his sidekick, I think it was not Chief Dan George, but one of those actor guys, and they're riding along, and they're buddies. And Clint Eastwood says, and I'm super paraphrasing, he goes, maybe we should part company, because it seems to me that people I get to like and end up not sticking around very long.
Yeah.
And he goes, seems to me people you get to not like and don't stick around very long.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Like, all that stuff. So
and then at the end, remember when he goes, they're in the bar, and the townspeople know him, but they're trying to protect him. They like him.
Yeah.
And Dean Vernon Wormer.
John Vernon.
John Vernon.
Yeah.
Vernon. Yeah, he comes, and he kind of set the thing in motion, but he wasn't really a bad guy, but he set it in motion, the whole thing. And so he knows it's him, and then the bounty hunters come, and they go, and the town says, "Oh, it's not him." He goes. Then the bounty hunter comes back, and he looks at Clint, and he goes, "I had to come back." And he goes, "I know." And the kid goes, "A man's got to make a living." And you remember what he said? He goes, "Dying ain't much of a living, boy."
Yeah. No, it's brilliant.
And one of my favorite lines of Eastwood is in Unforgiven, when he finally, the kid who brags about all the guys he's killed, he's crying because he killed a guy. "I've never done it. I'm not a killer like you, Will." And he goes, "Hell of a thing, killing a man. First you take away everything he has, then everything he's gonna have."
Eastwood, it was amazing. It's for him. Talk about not what you say. It's like just a look. I mean, look in Gran Torino. He was just doing grunts and he's brilliant. It's just that's the type of actor he was.
Yeah, I agree. But people complain that some of the Cambodian actors kind of weren't that good. Whatever.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was authentic. It was a good movie.
Exactly.
And you go back to, of course, his early quotes, like from the Dirty Harry movies, were classics.
Yeah.
What's this?
Yeah.
Hal Holbrook.
Yeah.
It's a 5-point suppository. Stick it up your ass.
I love all those dirty. I mean, we're going to do cop movies. We're going to do heist movies. We'll do things like that.
Oh yeah, those are always good.
Last one. This is the episode that was just released today. So, what's your favorite guilty pleasure movie if you have one? Yeah,
I don't know. Mine would probably be movies that are not considered guy, but like I'll think of some of the movies. I won't call them. I don't know.
Okay.
But like maybe some quote unquote chick flicks.
Sure. Movies that your guys would give you shit about, or
Notting Hill. I like Notting Hill. Harry Met Sally. They wouldn't give you a crack. Billy Crystal ruled the world back then.
There you go.
There are certain movies that I thought, like in terms of endearment, the movies that are a little contrived and sad, but absolutely great motion pictures. Then there are movies like more of a mod. I'll say this: a great movie is called Off the Map.
I've never heard of it.
And it's Sam Elliott and Joan Allen.
Okay.
And it's a kind of coming age summer of this girl, and it's a famous actress. I can't think of her name right now, and she's packing to go home, and she remembers as she's going to visit her parents in rural, off the map New Mexico, Sam Elliott and Joan Allen. She's remembering one summer from 25 or 30 years ago. This quirky summer. I love it. It's a great motion picture.
Yeah. Okay.
Off the map. Another one.
I have 2 Sam Elliott movies that are guilty pleasures. One, I'm sure you saw Lifeguard.
Roadhouse, probably.
Well, right? Roadhouse, without a doubt. That's on. I'll watch it. And Lifeguard.
Yeah, I did see that also.
Yeah.
Another movie. Have you ever seen The Way Back?
No.
Do you like Sam Rockwell?
I do.
Huge Sam Rockwell fan.
Way back.
The Way Back is a really good. He's a quirky, zany manager owner of this aquatic park in the Hamptons or back east, and it's this coming of age movie with this boy. Steve Carell's in it. I think Steve Carell might have wrote part of it. I'm a huge Carell fan. And it's a real good motion. Sam Rockwell's quirky and weird, and helps this boy kind of come through his stuff.
Oh, cool.
And that's a real good motion picture. I highly recommend that.
Okay.
Guilty pleasures, I don't know, might be.
Or movies that were.
How many heads in a duffel bag? Weird movies like that, whatever, those kind of things. I can't think of too many more, though. I like, if it's a good movie, The Book Thief. It wouldn't be guilty pleasure, but I loved that motion picture. I also love gentle tales of people that they're not going to make a blockbuster. They don't have to bang me over the head with Fast and Furious 16 and Taken 16. And I just resent that with all my heart. I don't know why. I should investigate that interpersonally. But I like people that are just going to tell you a story. Yeah. Here's a story. Did you ever see Millions?
No.
Another good one. But you'll like that. Millions of these two or three cute little boys or brothers and maybe a little sister. They stand in Britain and they stumble across a bunch of money, and it's the story of them and how and Millions is another one of those gentle stories. That's just a story. Here we go, like it or don't. And I like people that have the courage to tell that. Without having to entertain you. Like nowadays TV, I started out 5 years ago watching like The Big Bang Theory. And I ended up resenting shows like that and Modern Family. Oh, they're funny. I go, yeah, but I don't need to be banged over the head every 12 seconds with humor. And I don't need a laugh track. I know what's funny and what I want to laugh at. And so it just, I don't want to do that anymore. I want people to say, here's a story, and like the story or don't like the story. And so they're not going to make the money. They're not going to get the money from the Hollywood people because it's not going to be what people want nowadays, which is entertain me. I don't know, it's the same mentality of people that sell a lawnmower and it has to have a label on it that says not for oral consumption. I'm telling you, the lawyers get involved and the money people get involved. So if you can tell a story and say here it is and do it in a nice format, it doesn't have to be. You could probably think a lot of movies along those lines. Well, it doesn't have to bang you over the head.
But it's hard for TV and movies now because if they don't get your interest immediately, you're not going to have... Seinfeld couldn't exist today because it didn't do well in the first couple seasons. Then it took off.
Cheers was the same way.
Cheers the same way.
Same with rock and roll bands in the 60s. They had slack. Ozzy Osbourne talked about it. John Fogerty talked about it. They had some slack in the early years. Peter Frampton, one of my favorite, never would have made it.
Humble Pie.
Steve Marriott. They never would have had the opportunity to fail a little bit. Fail meaning he only sold 400,000 albums. But now, until it actually came about. And so it's very much a what have you done for me now society. And I feel bad for great artists that might not. My son, we just went and saw Sergio Mendes in Brazil '66. And so we're fantastic. He has a really eclectic taste in everything. And so he plays a lot of new artists that I might not have heard of that are fantastic. And I don't know if they're going to... So when he goes up to the Fox Theater in Oakland, he goes, I'm going to see one of these artists that I've heard of. I go, are they making money? Because to me, I want them to make money. He goes, they sold out. His ticket prices weren't... Like I went and I saw, what did I see? ZZ Top. And
well, that's how you make your money nowadays.
$150 a ticket. Now, there's only $30 a ticket for a younger crowd. But I go, good for them. They're good artists, and they're making money at it.
Well, look, they're not going to make it through their music. The whole system is shifted. It used to be you released an album to make money, and you would tour to promote the album.
To support your album.
It's the opposite now. You're basically releasing the album so you could, promote your tour.
Absolutely. It has changed. And the whole scene, I remember a real good book is called Hammer of the Gods. It's
absolutely.
Led Zeppelin. Remember when Zeppelin, after they were...
The Mud Shark? That's what everyone remembers.
Edgewater Hotel in Seattle, Washington. There's a famous story when they're throwing TVs off the thing.
Absolutely.
And so Peter Grant comes and just handing out, how much the TV is? $400. So he's just laying out a couple $1,000. And he goes like, they're kind of in trouble. And the manager goes, I always wanted to kind of do that, so it's okay. And he goes, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, guess what? He goes, have one on Led Zeppelin. And he went and threw it in the ocean. So the debauchery, what have you. But they were the ones that kind of changed the scene.
Yeah, Keith Moon, yeah.
Oh, yeah, a little go for the Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
The whole story behind that, the classic story.
Yeah.
And but they wanted to, when the U.S. was clamoring for Stadium Rock and touring.
Yeah.
It was before any of their big tours. And so Bill Graham and all the people were calling saying, okay, yeah, you'll come, great. And it's the same 80-20. And they said, yeah, 80-20, except it's 80 us, 20 you.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Absolutely.
They said, F you.
Yeah.
They go, fine, we'll just sit over here. They call back, no, F you. Okay, fine, we'll just keep touring Europe.
Yeah.
And then finally they called and said, look, for this, but we'll provide these things too.
Yeah.
And it kind of shifted and they wanted cash.
Yeah.
They didn't trust promoters. And so it kind of shifted the world
Yeah.
into thinking more along the lines of the artist,
Yeah.
less along the lines of, because that was back in the day. Have you read Hotel California?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The record producers ruled the world for these people.
Bill Graham ruled the Bay Area.
These people were not always good up and up.
No,
it's
like
not dissimilar to Don King ruining Mike Tyson.
Absolutely.
Gus Amato was his father figure. Mike Tyson would have had a different arc if he had Gus Amato, but now Don King took over. And it was the same thing with some of these. I'm not going to say David Geffen, but some of the big names that just probably didn't have the famous TLC story where they had the best-selling album in the world.
Yeah,
They didn't have any money. They made $30,000 that year.
Well, these guys don't realize that the money you're using to spend to create your album is your money. Like, you're borrowing it. And so whatever you sell, you could sell 2 million albums, but that's only going to pay off what you spent. So
and they have creative financing on their favor. So so you're a sports fan, and your dad too. There's a tendency to think, oh, they signed for. He wants how much? Partially because my nephew played 10 years in the NFL, but players should get all they can get.
Yeah. Well, especially in the NFL, they're paid the least.
No guarantee. They should get all they get. Do you begrudge Barry Zito for getting his contract?
Absolutely
I don't know. Absolutely not. Or Matt Cain for
the entertainers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cain and Lincecum got paid for their previous work.
That's
and for me, Tim Lincecum will always be a hero in my book. He was absolutely stellar and fantastic. Yeah. Does that mean he wasn't the worst pitcher in baseball? No, he was the worst pitcher in all of baseball. That doesn't taint his early career in any way.
People take it out on athletes, but what if you have a box office bomb? Tom Cruise is still getting his $30 million, whether the movie does well or not. And sometimes they sign contracts where they get points on the film, but
the most famous case of that is who? Jack Nichols.
Yeah, that's right.
In Batman.
Yes, yeah.
Where he decided he negotiated the contract his way and made something like $100 million off of and that just catapulted him. But he was somehow I won't say got over. But I don't know the full story, but he got what he wanted.
Brando, I guess, did that. He did points for Last Tango in Paris. So he didn't think this movie... He was just coming off The Godfather, and they got him to do it, and that ended up being a huge blockbuster.
For some reason. It was not a good motion picture.
But, it was rated X at the time, so I think that helped. But
Brando could have been a contender. Great. Insanely great.
Going back to Zeppelin and Bonham, there's a great... I'm going to connect this. So supposedly, 10 years after, who was on Woodstock, so Alvin Lee. There's a great story where
I saw them live.
Bonham came and poured orange juice as a prank on Alvin Lee while I was playing. Well, when that happens, you get all sticky and you can't play as fast. And Bonham's just roaring in the back, but Alvin Lee was not.
Because he was the fastest guy. He was considered the fastest. Alvin Lee was not happy with that.
No, not at all. Talking about an underrated band. I mean, 10 years after, stole the show on Woodstock.
Oh, yeah, I'm going home. It's still one of my favorite live songs of all time. Yeah. He just passed away last year.
He did.
Yeah, really, along with Johnny Winter and B.B. King and some of the greats, great guitarists.
Chuck Berry just turned 90, so he's
wow. In the Led Zeppelin book, there's a famous story, like, they're playing somewhere at a college campus, and Chuck Berry's going to play. They're like, they're out of their minds. Chuck Berry, their hero. Showtime, he pulls up, grabs his amp and his guitar. Hey, boys. Comes in, plugs in, plays a couple songs, grabs his money and leaves. They're like,
That's the way he does it. He would always make sure he got his money because he's from the old school where you weren't sure if you were going to get paid or not.
Especially a black artist, you might not get paid. What are you going to do?
Yeah, especially back in the 40s and 50s, absolutely.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories of that, there's a lot of good stories, but it's a story where Sammy Davis, with part of the Rat Pack, when Vegas said, because you're married to a white woman, you can't play Vegas. And Frank Sinatra and those guys said, then we're not playing. Screw you. And they went, oh, I guess he's okay.
Exactly.
They stuck up for their friend and said, screw you. I love that story. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dave. This has been an absolute
pleasure, Brian. Absolute
and we're going to definitely have you on more because we'll get through. I'm going to give you a list of all the next episodes we're going to do, and I'll come back and we'll knock them all out.
All right. One of these days we're going to talk about quantum physics, mind-body connection. We'll talk about reality, consciousness, and all sorts of things that will be guaranteed. Anyone listening, if you have insomnia, we'll cure it.
Hey, that's what we're all about here. Thanks again, Dave.
Thanks, Brian.
Again, special thanks to Dr. Dave Nichols for joining me on this podcast. If you live in the San Francisco Bay Area and looking for a terrific chiropractor, don't hesitate to get in touch with Dr. Dave. He has worked wonders for my father, and he can do the same for you. Also, as you just heard from our discussion, you'll get a fabulous conversation in addition to healing what ails you. So take a look at the show notes for Dr. Dave's contact details at Belmont Advanced Chiropractic, or just go to adjustedforhealth.com. All right, so for the plugs this week, you know what to do. You need to go to iTunes and rate and review the show. You can do that at Damn Good Movie Memories. You can also go to Podbean at damngoodmoviememories.podbean.com. You can check out our Facebook page. You can also check out our YouTube page. So do all that, but most importantly, just enjoy the show and spread the word. All right, talk to everyone next week.